State of the Nation. We're keeping our eyes on the anti-corruption war of this government. Now, I still have with me Adijara Adigbero is in our Lagos studios. Let me continue with you, as a matter of fact. For some, the reason for corruption in the country is as a result of inequality. And for some, they say it is because of the government's system or the government style. Do you think that with devolution of powers, for instance, we will begin to have a better style of government from the local government to the state government level? What do you think will be the lot of this administration?
Well, from what Gimba, when they came into power, this present administration, the president stated, not once, not twice, that corruption was one of his biggest things that he's going to try and curb. If I'll take you back, Gimba, let us start with General Olusegun Obasanjo's regime. Look at all the reforms he put into place, and which started the corruption campaign. Today, now, we are with General Buhari. They are saying that...
That's President Muhammadu Buhari. He's not the general. He's the general.
The retired President General Buhari. But with all the things that is in place today, I think, first of all, the government needs to build a very, very strong institution. Whether it is EFCC, whether it is DSS, the foundation must be built very strong. If you go to the UK, a policeman can arrest a general if he is caught for any wanted offense. That is where the direction I think we are trying to channel. But unless we get those concrete institutions well backed up, the president will come by in due force and tell us this is what he plans. But I think we should empower and go as a public opinion that what are these institutions, what are they doing? Let us see what they are doing. What powers do they have? Because right now, clearly, everybody is just free for all, as far as I see it.
Free for all, because if you say free for all, some people might question that and say, if you say free for all, we have the anti-graft agencies, the EFCC, for instance, the ICPC, and they have been carrying out their own duties diligently. So one would tend to disagree with you.
Yeah, well, you can tend to disagree with me, but what it is right now is what is happening. There's no clear-cut division.
What about the governance element? What role do you think is playing in the war against corruption?
Well, the government definitely is playing against corruption, and corruption is fighting back. That's the blatant, honest truth. There's nothing more to it that you can say to that.
Garuba, let's go to Abuja now. You have a background and on this kind of matters. As a matter of fact, you've been arrested a couple of times on this your crusade to stop corruption by all means in Nigeria. As a matter of fact, CADBAN stands for a crusader to take back Nigeria. What would you say about the governance style and how that has affected the war on corruption in Nigeria?
Well, thank you, Gimba. You see, if we're talking about fighting corruption, sometimes some people think it is the duty of the institutions, but it's way beyond that. It is we, the individuals. We took it upon ourselves as a civil society organizations under the CADBAN banner to see if we can really support the fight against corruption championed by the administration. But trust me, the challenges we're getting is we're getting information within agencies, and I can remember very well that we came up with some of the findings, reliable document that shows that unlawful extortion, I mean, generally extortion of money from some of the agencies, particularly the Hajj Commission. It was very clear that monies are being collected from either contractors or individuals involved. But when we raise alarm, we take these things to, we write petitions and submit it to these agencies. The challenges we're having is that these individuals are so powerful, blocking petitions getting to the president, or even blocking even the media report getting to the president or those in a position to take decision, the final decision on their feet. So it's very difficult. Now, if we're looking into what the governors or what some individuals are doing, you see, the immunity system, I mean, they have is helping them, denying agencies like anti-corruption to even do their jobs. Even the Auditor General's office or even the auditors across the states and local government cannot do enough. Why? Because these individuals are very powerful, are being supported by the law, protected by the law. until we are able to institutionalize the fight against corruption, put mechanisms just like the TSA, let everybody, every institution, no matter what they do, they should comply with the TSA. There are means of auditing some of these accounts, even when the government, even when nobody is looking. So these things are basics in fighting corruption. As for the experience we're having, is so terrible, so terrible.
You've just heard about what he said and the kind of style this government is adopting in the war against corruption. What's your own view? Because you have a background, as a matter of fact, as one of the greats, the grandson of one of the great politicians in Nigeria that we have had. That would be the late Pa Alfred Ruwani. But to you, you have had good experience learning from the grandmasters. What would you subscribe to? What would you prescribe as the way of governance in Nigeria? Should we go the parliamentary system, for instance?
Well, Gimba, I think to a certain point, my good friend in Abuja there made some valid points. But if going forward from today, henceforth, what I would advise the government from my background of being a grandson of two great politicians, I would say that, there should be clear-cut division of power. Number one, we rely too much on hearsay in Nigeria, the media. He mentioned of Hajj Commission. I'm not privy to that, so I will not comment on it. But if we are going to go on corruption, it starts from all of us, even we ourselves. Because imbibing discipline and corruption are in line to each other. Nigerians know what is right and what is wrong. But we never, ever want to do it in our country. And I do not see every time, every day is the same thing. We go to England, for instance. Look at the flight going to England and look at the flight coming back. You go to England, you see them that they're well organized. When they're coming back to Nigeria, everybody is disorganized. Now, you have not come that President Buhari has said that he's going to fight this corruption thing. I think we need to push our focus behind him with every single one of us and all the elders too, to come in force and say, let us fight this corruption. My dear friend in Abuja talked about TSA. Yes, that is right. But guess what? The TSA that you're talking about is part of the thing to checkmate corruption. Now, who are the people that are violating these TSAs? They're not government officials. You're talking of the bankers, you're talking of this, you're saying they're hiding all these things. Are they government officials? No, they are not.
Are they above the law?
They are not above the law.
So what should the EFCC be doing to such
The
things?
EFCC is working as hard as it can. How many cases is EFCC? You have to give EFCC a lot of backing. Because this campaign...
Are they not getting the backing from the president?
Of course they're getting the backing from the president. That's why he was nominated as the chairman of the commission. But EFCC needs to be empowered more. Police needs to be empowered more. Judiciary needs to be empowered more.
Adejare Adegbenro, a political analyst, I want to thank you so much indeed. I'll take that as your closing thoughts, as well as Ibrahim Garba in our Abuja studios. I'm afraid that's where we're going to have to end it at this time. Many thanks indeed to everyone who's watching as well. And that's how the show's been for this day and, of course, perhaps the week. I'm Gimba Umar, and this is State of the Nation.